Uh, all right, so chapter approved was announced, I think, last week. Kind of surprised. We didn't really hear. Usually, there's a little bit of a build up, or we didn't really
Yeah.
know that it was coming. So it was a bit of a surprise to hear that chapter approved was coming. Which I think, look, I was predicting that we would get a chapter approved, and I think I said that a few times. Is like I think we're gonna get a chapter approved 2021. I think this is their model, that, and I hope we get new secondaries, and I hope we get new missions. And lo and behold, last Saturday it was announced. So obviously, we've already seen the fake. Every time a chapter approved releases, instantly there's fake screenshots, people distributing fake screenshots. I don't know who
Oh
has the
yeah.
time or like energy to do that, but I always think that's really funny.
John.
Huh?
Salty John.
Yeah, probably.
He's got the fucking time.
And as part of that chapter approved, they obviously previewed a few things, including some new secondaries,
Well,
which I think it's hard to say whether they're better because we haven't seen the full package. And the Warhammer community articles aren't exactly an honest, unbiased, unfiltered look at the updates. They're generally basically just a bunch of shills that are there to, like, I'm surprised actually they don't just hand them a script and say, here, say this, and like it's one of those things where it's like, I wrote a letter for you to write and to sign. You know what I'm saying? Like, it almost feels like
mad
that
for
in
a
some
second.
cases, because what happens is they send that off to Games Workshop, and then Games Workshop probably has editorial like say. So I couldn't
Yeah.
say this fucking sucks in that thing and send it off to Games Workshop and then have them publish it. So they obviously have editorial control, which is fine. But I just want everyone to understand that when you're reading an article on Warhammer Community about anything new, especially when it's like from the Nick Nanavades and playtesters, is like, take it with a grain of salt, because it's definitely not what they honestly think. It's the closest. It's what they think that Games Workshop wants to hear, and it's like filled with words like awesome, amazing, exciting, like all the like adjectives to make people really get hyped up, and not like anything negative, right?
How do I keep my sponsorship?
That's right.
How do I stay as a playtester?
So I know you haven't played a lot of Ninth Edition, but any thoughts on the initial secondaries?
So like I didn't pay a whole ton. Like I went through the secondaries when it came out and things like that, and I saw the memes about scramblers getting removed. Which from reading the mission and playing with it once, it kind of makes sense. It's kind of weird, but I don't know. I haven't had a ton of time to go through all the changes for the new secondaries, because they're basically going to be like the first set of secondaries that I would have experienced. Now that things are opening up and I can actually play Warhammer again, but I'm sure you've got some hot takes.
Me? That doesn't sound like me. Um, all right. Well, one thing I do want a hot take on, and Games Workshop, if you're listening, which I know you're not, can we stop? Like, the rules are already complicated enough. Can we stop making complicated names for them? What the fuck is retrieve
No,
Octarius data? Like, what does that even mean? Retrieve
it's just going to be
Octarius data. So
raw.
that's essentially the new scramblers. And they say here, I love this. I love how they describe it. The evocatively named. Like, that is Nick Nanavati used the word evocatively to describe the naming of this new secondary. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, are you
Do you
serious?
think he knows that word?
I don't even think he knows.
I think Siegler probably told him that word. It was like, put this in here.
Yeah, I don't even think he knows the like what that word means. I think Siegler probably did his homework for him and handed it in, right?
Yeah.
Siegler does
What the
everything in that house
hell?
anyways. So like, first of all, and like this is the same with the AdMech, right? It's like
Mm.
what's their new like there's like a new protocol for the like
Um,
Skitari, and it's like it's just something ridiculous and long, and then all the rules have really long, complicated, like wordy names, and I'm like, guys, the rules are already complicated. Can we just stop naming things even more complicated? So what are we gonna call it? I'm taking Rod. I'm gonna take the Rod
exactly.
secondary. That's so stupid.
Yeah, that's
So
a
that's my again.
you gotta tie it into the fluff.
That's a small yeah, imperative doctrina. Hey, I'm activating my imperative doctrina and my canticles of the Omnissiah. It's like, that's literally like you I'm
You spoke
choking
a
just to try to
different
say that stuff.
language.
So okay, okay, putting that aside, my quibble with the naming. Um I guess my big thing with these is like I'm happy that they changed. And
Mm.
I do hope that it's more than just what they showed. So I'm happy about that. I don't have any problem with the secondaries that they changed. But yeah, like everything
Did
is
they say?
yeah, I'm just reading this. It's like everything's incredible, evocative.
Oh
It's like
yeah,
exciting,
it's
new possibilities. Uh, like it's just a lot of
equivalent
like
of
yeah.
like the fake Twitter
So
accounts that support like Putin.
yeah, so I'm happy that they changed. I'm looking forward to them. But the big elephant in the room is the actual points changes, which is coming along with the chapter approved. And we saw today, which I will also link in the chat, that
Can I be mad about this for a
yeah,
sec?
okay, you go. But let me just
Okay,
explain. So okay,
so
you go ahead.
yeah, okay. So just real quick, like they put out this article in Warhammer 40K chapter approved 20, and they show 3 out of the 5 point changes for the models.
Yeah.
Like they talk about the immortals like 4 points different than a Necron warrior. It's like, okay, well just put the point value there. Don't freaking clickbait me into clicking this link and spending my time and just get teased. It is so stupid.
Yeah, and the funny thing is like I don't know. Again, you guys, I don't look. Games Workshop Warhammer Community is a marketing. It's a marketing site, right? It's not like a interactive site. So like I don't mind that they're being like I guess like excited. But like I don't think that they like like who was the editor who was like, we need to find 5 points changes here. Let's pick land raiders that like are still garbage so that people can like,
Whoa.
and then let's pick like I don't know, just I feel like the units that they pick were just kind of like super lame, and then also not actually tell you how the points have changed
Yeah,
for some of them.
like the land raider changing points, like decreasing points, is neat. I suppose all those people that have all these paperweights at home
Yeah. So okay,
can now put them
see
on the table.
the problem with the land raider, and this I want to be really clear here. The problem with the land raider was never the points. The problem was that it doesn't actually serve a purpose. It's not a good transport. It's not a good firebase, and it's not that tanky in the meta for the points that you get. The fact that it has an assault, listen guys, the fact that it has a fucking assault ramp on the front, but the models like if this is how you fix land raiders. You want to know how to fix land raiders? Leave the points the way they are. You add a rule that says this this model can move and then disembark at the end of the movement phase because of the assault ramp. You add a rule called assault ramp, which is literally the giant ramp that opens like this in the front of the vehicle, and you say assault ramp rule. Passengers can disembark after this vehicle has moved. Boom, you've fixed land raiders. Done. Now you're gonna see land raiders in games. But instead,
So
that's all it takes. That's all it would take, and you'd fix land raiders. But instead, it's like drop points, drop points, drop points. And the thing is, it's such a big model that it's like it's hard, it's unwieldy to play with. So I just don't understand. Like it's like they don't understand how to actually like make these models. Like I would
yeah,
love. I don't actually own a land raider at this point, but it would be a really easy fix to make them useful. But I think the thing that I
yeah,
really want to focus on, and I'm glad to see these changes, and I want to obviously see all of them in aggregate to see actually what they um, do. But yeah, so impulsors have that rule, and their ramps are on the fucking back. Like impulsors have the rule, but the ramp is on the back of the vehicle, so it doesn't even make sense unless you drive your impulsors
no.
backwards.
What's a hover tank?
Well, who cares? So okay, so let's talk about the actual on the so I like how this paragraph starts. On the topic of surprises, tell us, please. So we know that Orcs and Sisters are coming out next, but what about the next two?
Yeah.
Well, they've announced here that Thousand Sons or Grey Knights are coming out, and they've got a confession to make. And it's not really a confession because we would have found out in a week that the points are incorrect. So we already knew that you guys fucked it up. And the one thing that I did think that they revealed that is interesting, that their codexes were intended to be out at this point. So we're talking May right now, which means we're
Yeah.
4 codexes behind. So if Thousand Sons and Space Wolves were supposed to be out today, that means Orcs would have been out, Sisters would have been out, Thousand Sons and Grey Knights. So we're actually at a minimum of 4 codexes out behind, but probably closer to 6 codexes behind where we need to be.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. Any thoughts on that?
do you think that's a like, because
Yeah,
obviously they're
definitely.
hardcover books, right? So you have to send them out so early they be printed.
It's either that or that giant
But
boat
at the
that got
same
stuck in the
time,
Suez Canal. So
but okay, but hear me out. At the same time, it's the digital version.
yeah, okay, so let's talk
Like
digital. So first of all, don't you
so
guys think it's funny that
bad.
they literally last week had a fucking giant Warhammer preview, and they decided for this random article on May 27th, Thursday, to actually tell you that the next two books are Thousand Sons of Grey Knights? Like, we'd all guessed that that's probably what it's going to be, but they did this big, mysterious, like, video and stuff, and then a week later, they're like, hey, oh yeah, by the way, in, like, buried in this article, the next two books are Thousand Sons of Grey Knights. Why don't you fucking tell us at the giant Warhammer preview you guys had last week? Like, what's wrong with you guys? Anyways, so the big thing here, and I think this is a big issue, is that so what's happened, for those of you that are not following along, Thousand Sons and Grey Knights were supposed to be out by now, which meant the points up would have been the points in chapter approved would have been the new points in the Thousand Sons and Grey Knights books. Now, we can also presume that the orc points and the sisters points in chapter approved are the new points as well, correct? Because right?
100%.
Which means when those books come out, we're probably going to see the points values for all the new stuff in the Orc and Sisters books. But because those are so close, they're not going to do like a weird like 2-week FAQ essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That makes sense. Like, yeah, it just seems weird. Like, obviously, you can't help these delays, but
yeah. And then the one thing I will say, the cover art is absolutely gorgeous. So the Thousand Sons cover art, the Grey Knights cover art is probably two of the best covers that I've seen. I absolutely love the cover art. So kudos to whoever those artists are. I wish they credited their artists a lot more. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about this whole shit show though. So Games Workshop creates chapter approved, which is essentially sorry, not chapter approved, the field manual. So I'm gonna just make sure the MFM. I'm gonna call it the field manual from now on. The field manual is supposed to be an annual release that is meant to balance the game by updating points. So that is the goal, that is the purpose, that the reason that they do an annual points update is to help balance the game. However, because Games Workshop is Games Workshop, the print times and the lead times for these books is at least 6 months. Because if they're saying that Thousand Sons was supposed to be out by now, we're talking and this book will probably come out in June. That means this was probably printed around the time that like in December or in January.
Yeah.
So
it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just like, it is kind of just like asking, like, especially think of the world everybody's living in, right? Like, we're all experienced. You've come out with this like new digital platform, things like that. Like, I'm pretty sure when the app took all their books down from the iTunes store and things like that, because I think that's how people were.
Yeah. So and
PDFs of it.
Yeah, and I'll get to that in a sec. The fucking digital. So what Games Workshop has shown here is that because of their lead, so they've literally demonstrated for us the problem with this whole system, which is that due to lead times, due to publishing delays, due to all sorts of reasons, the physical books are often out of date or incorrect on day one when they release. And as a fix to that, they said, hey, there's a solution to this. Why don't we release the rules or the points for 2 of the armies digitally, because that would fix the problem. Guys, just do that for everyone. like connect those dots that, hey, if the solution to making sure that points are up to date on the day of release is to just release them digitally, why the fuck are you guys printing books? Now, what they could do is what they did with the so in the White Dwarf, I think 3 months ago, there was a copy of the field manual, the Mark 1, that was the updated version from the FAQ. They did like an FAQ, I think in around December, I want to say, or November. They did a small FAQ around that time, and then they sent out a physical copy of the field manual with the White Dwarfs, and that was like 3 months after that digital copy was out. So I think that is something that they should continue doing. But what they should be doing is updating the points, and like literally these points should have been signed off on last week. That's how fresh they need to be. And then the book should come out and everything is as up to date as possible, and we wouldn't have any of these issues. We wouldn't be they wouldn't have to be kind of crawling their tail between their legs saying that, guys, we screwed up because of the points are already out of, like, the points are incorrect because the books aren't out. Because guess what, they could just they could just leave the points as they are, and then when the books actually come out, put the new points out with the book, right? And but and KPI makes a good point. He says they need to release points digitally 4 times a year. This would also drive sales. Great point. And then people are saying, like, but here's the thing, guys. I already have digital copies of the Dark Elf book, of the Death Guard book, of the Admech book. So the idea, all you've done, like this idea that like, hey, we're not going to do digital copies of stuff because we want to drive people to buy physical books. It doesn't work, because the people that are going to pirate, the people that are going to get those copies are going to find a way. They're going to literally get scans of the book. They're not going to pay. You're not going to force them into paying for it. All you're doing is inconveniencing people like me who would actually pay for those books. Like I would go, if I could get a digital copy, like just a digital version for like $25, I would do that. And to get a code, if I get a digital
100%.
copy and then a code for my,
They do.
So if,
by the way, they do
right,
that
exactly.
for AOS.
So if I could get a digital copy of the codex plus say a code for the app for $25, I would buy every book. But instead, because I can't and I don't want to buy the physical book for $60, and because of the fact that you can't even buy half the books because they're sold out, like some people don't even have their Drukhari codex yet. So their whole model is completely fucking broken. And it's like they got backwards because they had digital codexes in 8th edition, and AOS is doing it well. They have the
the Azure app is amazing.
It's like, who is running who? It's like, yeah, it's like there's two different sides of their brain that's working here, and it's just I don't understand how no one looks at this and says, guys, this is just really dumb and not working. Let's fix it. It's like they're so stubborn and they've like set themselves on this path, and it's like nothing's gonna change it.
Well, it's frustrating, right? Because like, I would like to buy hard copies of books, but I'm gonna be honest. The last codex I purchased copy was my 8th edition or 7th edition fantasy Dark Elf book. I've gone to many a tournament with just my iPad and a bunch of PDFs. Like, it's too much when you look at, like, they can obviously see the demographic of like how many people switch armies 1, 2. They want to collect like every new release army that comes out. Like, just give people an option to buy it, especially when things are tight. Like, who knows? Even if you could get a copy of the Drukhari Codex, maybe the stores aren't open in your town or whatever that you're in right now. Like, it's just kind of stupid, and they're missing money. Like, yeah, sure, you make a lot of extra money off printing these.
But
nice
I don't think
books,
they do, though.
Think
about it. Okay, so here's the thing. I bet you if you took all of the people that would like, so this is why I actually think it's a bad business decision too. It's because first of all, I don't want physical books anymore. I have been playing this game for 20 years. I have boxes of old codexes. Sometimes I've given them away. I have a shelf behind me of codexes. I don't bring them to events anymore because they're so heavy and there's so many of them, and you need so many of them to play the game. Like, I used to carry around 4 different books just to play my Chaos Army. Between Chapter Approved, my 3 Chaos books. So the whole concept of me carrying around physical books is something that I do not want to do. What I want to do is have digital copies. Now, as someone that wants digital copies, I have no option to even have a digital copy, even if I buy the book, because all I get is a physical book and then a code for the app. But the thing is, the app is not the codex. It's not even like I can put the code, the app code in my, the code in my app, and then that allows me to pull up a digital copy of the physical codex. Instead, I just get the unit entries and like the really poorly laid out app. I don't get my codex in the app, right? It's not like I get a version of that. So the digital codex doesn't exist. And so what does that do? It means that people just end up getting digital copies from the dark corners of the internet, right? I I just want to be clear, even though I would probably seek them out anyways, people have literally sent me every book digital versions. Like within as soon as they're in the pre-order period, I have many different let's call them spies in the networks. People send me literally like here's a copy, here's a link to the Admech Codex, here's a link to the Dark Elder Codex, here's a link to the, and I'm like, okay, cool, right? So, but here's the thing, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to give them my money, and I want to be an honest actor. But you guys, they make it so fucking hard for people because it's like, I don't want to pay for a book that is A, going to be obsolete right away, B, that I don't want to carry around anyways, and C, doesn't actually give me access to a digital version because it's fucking 2021. It's not fucking 1921, right? So their whole distribution model is super broken. And then on top of that, when you add in things like the COVID delays and the book delays, they could have released all the books on time digitally and just said, hey guys, we're going to release all the digital books. And if you buy it digitally, we'll give you a 50% discount on the physical book when it releases down the road because there's been printing issues. And they would have kept the entire 40K release schedule as far as books on track. Now, obviously, a lot of times there's a model release that's associated, and so that might not have been kept on track. But like, it's just, it seems so simple to me, this problem, and the solution seems so simple and obvious that it just totally drives me insane that I know for the rest of this whole edition, they're not going to change it. This is it. Like, they've committed to this warpath of like this model, and that's it. They're not going to in like 2 months be like, hey guys, this isn't working. Let's change this, right? Because that's Games Workshop. It's like it's like the Titanic. It just doesn't move.
Well, it takes them like 10 years to do a year's worth of like actual progression as a business. Like, think of the change from when Kirby was no longer in charge of things, right?
Yeah.
You went from let's focus on these gorgeous models to all right, these rule sets, and like just the amount of time it took to go from we're a model company to like no, we're a game company already shows like, just how long things can actually take.
Yeah, so like Mubin says in chat, he's like he's like they're a pain in the ass. So like I have a physical Death Guard book, the new one, but I never use it. I have a digital copy of it on my phone that someone sent me, and whenever I'm playing games, I use my digital copy because I don't want to carry around my book. And so for me, it's not piracy because I own the physical copy, and I now have a digital copy on my phone. So why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? And then yeah. So anyways, like I mean, I could just scream about this topic.
One quick thing to add on to that is like you don't even need a pirated copy. Wahapedia exists.
Right.
Like it's just a website. You as GW has no power to shut down a Russian website. Everyone can access all the time with every updated rule. Like they get the updates out so fast now, it doesn't even matter.
Our comrades.
Yeah, them removing those books from iTunes did not stop the being able to find copies of the codexes online.
I love the crafty Russians. So anyway, so that's like the situation with this digital distribution model. I think it's totally just broken, and I hope that this embarrassing debacle of hey guys, we fucked up the Thousand Suns and here's the thing and blah blah blah. I hope for next year they like learn their lesson and say, you know what guys, this will be the last Mediaturn field manual that we ever print, and next year we're gonna go all digital. And what we'll do is, if you have a White Dwarf subscription, after like say 2 months or once that book gets out, like say it comes out in June next year, in the August White Dwarf for however long it takes to print and distribute, you also get a physical copy. Like we'll send out a physical copy in like September. So hey, here's a bonus free thing. Here's also a physical copy of it. If you guys really want to go physical, right? Some people like the physical, but for me, it's just inexcusable. And I just don't understand why someone at that company doesn't realize that they're actually losing money, because instead of now buying a digital book, I'm not buying any book. I'm buying 0 books, right?
Well,
or
the thing too is like, look at their.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, look at their competition and like all the other game manufacturers, even something dying like War Machine. They have an app where you one time pay access to your entire faction's line of the equivalent of their codex, right? And guess what? It gets updated automatically every once in a while without you having to look at it.
Right.
There's random games done by like small studios, like the Batman miniature game. Everything is free on their website and constantly gets updated. So it's the combination of still being stuck in a way where they expect you to pay for book after book after book after book, and deal with these slow times when they could just go digital. It's purely profit outside of what you're paying the team to spend their like working hours and dollars on creating. But you don't have to deal with distribution methods. You don't have to deal with like shipping times and delays. Like, what happens if that factory they sent everything off to just caught on fire? Like,
Yeah, or like a
then
boat was
just
stuck in the
SOL
Suez
for the next
Canal
6
with all the
months.
fucking codexes on it,
There you go.
which is literally what just happened.
Too many things. Too many things you.
And guys, Games Workshop, guess what?
Okay.
There's a whole nother model you could pursue and not listen to us. And it involves a monthly subscription service. So if only you guys knew about monthly subscription services, which sounds like you don't, except you do because you're fucking launching Warhammer Plus, which we'll talk about next. But if Games Workshop created a monthly like rules subscription app, not the Warhammer app, but like literally either a website I could log into with a mobile app, something where I could literally I would pay $15 a month for access to all of the codexes as a subscription service, and knowing that they get updated regularly, knowing that I have full access to them. You guys Warhammer Plus should not be a TV service. Warhammer Plus should be a codex access service where I can go to Warhammer Plus and have access to the full rules for my $15.99 or whatever for all of the books. And guess what? Over the course of an edition, so let's say 3 years, at $15 a month, right? You're talking, I don't know, let me do some math here because I'm dumb. Let's say 15 times 12 times 3. So that's $540 over the course of an edition if you say $15 a month. That is $490 more than I will spend on codexes generally in an edition.
Yeah.
So if you guys actually want to get more money out of me, make a fucking Warhammer Plus subscription service where I can sign up and I will keep my subscription active if it means I get full access to all the codexes and rules and they're updated and they're like, and as they're released, they get added to that library. I will be a member for life. I will give you $15 to the rest to the day I stop playing Warhammer. But that's too smart. Yeah. That's too smart. We can't do that. That's too smart. And also,
it's way too easy.
Like, there's no cost. Once the rules are done, you know what your cost is? 0. I can scale up. I can go from 0 to 1 million users of that app with zero scaling costs outside of the hardware bandwidth. I'm not having to print a physical book, ship it to a store, have that store sell it. Like, it removes a huge chunk of their like work. It makes it so much easier. They're gonna get 100% of the profit. There's no printing costs. There's no shipping costs. There's no like, And if there's an issue, like they left, like they need to update something, they can do it seamlessly. It's so simple, guys.
Well, there's also another small thing to go on top of that with all the digital. Think how much easier it would be to just create a codex in every fucking language. Just every single language, right? Like, I'm sure they're limited on what they do right now. It's probably like another fake European language and all this other stuff where you could just have it easily transcribed into every language and then reach out into maybe different countries that didn't have access to this stuff before, or that they were forced to use English codexes because that's their second language in their country and it's the closest thing that they could get. Yeah. Right? You know what I mean? Like, it's something small, but
anyways,
easier.
All right, that's enough. I think we beat the horse into a mush of pulp and goop. So let's move on to something that boils my blood slightly less. Warhammer Plus. So they announced Warhammer Plus this weekend at the preview. Austin, let's putting aside the distribution model. What do you think of the shows that they announced? What do you think of the actual content? First of all.
So I watched the trailer, video, teaser stuff, and like some of the animations look pretty cool. Like, I'm a weeb, so I'm sure I'll watch the anime style looking one, but there's some of them that just kind of look like